If you're buying property in Mexico, there's one document that could completely delay your process, and it's not so easy to get. Welcome back to Mariana in Yucatán. For those of you that don't know me, I am a Yucatecan born and raised real estate agent as well as immigration and property lawyer. I'm the owner of Max Life Yucatán, Immigration and Real Estate, and we do this type of videos in this channel to help you and your family move to Mexico legally, but also talk about real estate opportunities and things you need to know to make that move or purchase safe and easy. We also guide our clients from A to Z, so feel free to reach out in the numbers below and feel free to subscribe if you want to get notification of these weekly videos. But now let's go back to the main topic, which is what documents I need, and specifically one of those that could delay my closing. Now, it's important to remember that a closing in Mexico is a legal process, right? It's not just about the owner or the seller giving me the house. That's part of it, of course, and then receiving the money. But it actually goes through the certification or faith of somebody called a notary. Now, maybe back home in your own country, it depends. It changes from country to country. A notary might be just someone that gives faith of, your names or a certain bank statement, etc. But in Mexico, only notaries are able to certify a sale of a property. And not just certify it, or give faith, but also take that title that is signed and take it to the public registry of property to file it in and have it registered. This step is the only way that your ownership is protected before third parties, making you a full owner. This is why having all the needed documents in time and form, and not just having the document, but making sure that it has the validity or it has the needed requirement to be able to be used in Mexico is very important. I typically tell my clients from the moment that we're researching about moving to Mexico with the immigration section about these documents so that they can get them ready and in time and not rushing at last minute. So let's talk about the apostille or legalization. So if you have moved to Mexico before or purchased a property, you might have heard this word apostille or legalization. Now, this is not something that just Mexico does. The apostille actually comes from a convention, the Hague Convention, which among many topics, it talks about how to make a document from one of the member countries be valid in another country. This is part of more international law. So Mexico, and for example, I will use the US and Canada in this example, but of course this all depends in the country where you live. But Mexico and United States, for example, are both in the Hague Convention. So this means that to be able for Mexico or vice versa for the US to accept a Mexican or US document, to present it and to accept it as valid, they need to have these apostille verifying the document. Now, if you live in the US, where do I get this apostille and how does it look like? Well, for viewing purposes, I'm going to put here a picture of how an apostille looks like. And again, this changes from state to state in the US, but it always has the word apostille on the first page. If it doesn't have that, even if it's sealed or signed by a notary, that does not make it valid. Where do I get the apostille? In the United States, you can get it at the Secretary of State of the state where your document was issued at. So if I was born in Pennsylvania, then the Secretary of State of Pennsylvania can apostille my document. If I was born in Florida, same thing. If I was born in California or married in California, same thing, okay? Now, to my clients, I always suggest to first, before you go to the office, give a call to the Secretary of State's office and ask about their personal process for apostille. Typically speaking, this could take from 5 working days to 10 working days, even a little bit more. And the price varies for $10 in some states up to, I don't know, a lot more. There's also companies, because if you search online and you put apostille, the first 30 pages will be of companies that charge you to do this service. Now, I have nothing against these companies. They've actually worked wonders for some of our clients, but they do charge an amount, which is about $200, $300 US. So if you are in a rush or you need it expedited, you can use these companies. But if you're not in a rush and you do it with enough time, you might just be able to call the Secretary of State, go yourself or a family member and do it on your own and save up that money. So regarding the topic of legalization, because sometimes you might hear the document needs to be apostilled or legalized. Well, the legalization is same, a certification used for Mexico to accept that document as valid, but it's for the countries that are not part of the Hague Apostille. So, for example, before, Canada was not part of that convention. They didn't do the apostille. So what was the process? Again, this can change from country to country, but the process there was that you needed to send your document to Ottawa to be certified or verified, and then after that, or authenticated. And after that step, you could send it to the Mexican consulate of your area to do a legalization. I'm going to put a picture here of how a legalization looks like, but it tends to be this little paper, kind of pinkish color. And again, that is done by the Mexican consulate that is in your area. So again, just in short, if your country is part of the Hague Apostille, you can ask ChatGPT or you can ask, look online, then you need an apostille. And if your country is not part of the Hague Apostille, then you need to authenticate it first and then send it to the Mexican consulate of your area to get it legalized. Well, the second step is that every single foreign document needs to be in the language of Mexico, which is Spanish. So if you come from a country that your main language is Spanish, then that's it. Just apostille or legalize it. But if you come from a country like the US or France or any other language, then do not pay for a translation there, because you need to translate it in Mexico by an official translator. At Max Life Yucatan, we use a translator to make it easier and so that we can get everything ready before you come. Those are valid for a few years. So for example, usually when someone's going to purchase a property, we ask them to get any birth certificate or marriage license, apostilled or legalized, and then we translate them here. But you might also use the same one for your immigration process and also for your naturalization process if you decide to become Mexican. So once you have it, it will be useful for a lot of things, as well as the translation. The authority only verifies the one in the translation and the original, and then gives the originals back to you. It's important to do this in time and form because, again, the notary at the signing will need to have these apostille or legalized. It's important because the public registries do not accept just an original copy. Again, that document is not valid in Mexico. Other documents you need, and these are typical, is an identification. This could be your passport, which is an international identification. And if you are a tourist, your FMM, so the time that immigration gives you, is enough. And if you are a resident, your temporary or permanent residency card in original. Being ready for the closing, including getting your apostille or legalization, is something that we make sure that our clients have in time and form. We work with notaries and legal terms since, apart from being licensed and certified real estate agents, we are also property and immigration lawyers. If you're planning to move or to purchase in Mexico and you're not sure what documents you need, feel free to reach out on the numbers and links below. We'd be happy to guide you through all the process. That's it for this week. Thank you so much for watching the video. Again, feel free to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so that you don't miss our weekly videos, and see you until next time. Bye.